Class is in session. E equals MC Hayabusa. Going to answer you some rider questions today. Going to be a lot of fun. Let's begin. Shades XL1220 on YouTube asked me, when are we going to get a video about riding 2-up? Been riding for a couple years now, but still not confident about throwing a passer on the back of me, and it's kind of intimidating. Okay, great question. You will probably not see a 2-up video from me. Why is that? Because I've only ridden 2-up maybe 5 or 6 times in my entire riding career for very short periods of time. 2-up riding is something I'm not that familiar with, I'm not that experienced with, and I would feel a little silly like making an in-depth video on it when I really don't have that much experience with 2-up riding. I will say this, the 2 things to think about when it comes to 2-up riding is number 1, your rear shock preload. You are adding a tremendous addition of weight to the rear of the motorcycle, so if you're going to be doing that for a long time, I would recommend either jacking up that preload collar a little bit, checking that suspension travel, and just making sure that it's good, because sometimes it can really make the bike a little wonky. The second thing to think about is you have a ton more mass on your motorcycle, as mentioned previously, and so braking distances are going to change. You got to do everything further and slower when you're riding 2-up. You got to accelerate a little easier because you don't want to, yank the passenger off the back of you. You want to brake really early and smooth because I don't know if you guys have ever ridden 2-up, you get that helmet knockback effect. Oh my goodness, helmet knockback effect. There we go. On the back of the helmet. That's a little frustrating too. So yeah, personally for me, here to here, put it the way I like to think of it, 2-up is no fun. I really don't have that much fun riding 2-up. To me, it's just super stressful. I just feel like I'm like, it's one thing to ride and put my own life in danger, so to speak, but I really don't like having a passenger on the bike. I don't. IT Pirate says, make your partner learn to ride themselves. I kind of agree. I think that, having 2 bikes and 2 people riding together is a lot of fun. Both people on comms, everybody's managing their own situation. Yeah, I don't know. For me, 2-up is not so great. I've never really had too much fun with it. So yeah, not too much insight from your sweet Papa Yam on that one. Okay, What's on Gaming 8138 on YouTube asked me, what's the minimum power and top speed a motorcycle should have to be safe on the American highway system? Great question. This is one we get a lot because riders are going to be commuting on the highway. They want to make sure they can be safe. I honestly think if we're answering this from like a just purely functional, like practical level, I think like you're going to hate my answer, but like 18 horsepower and like 70 miles an hour, and you can be quote unquote safe on the American highway system. Now, that is, I believe, the absolute bare minimum, because that was your question, right? Functionally speaking, what is the minimum power that I feel comfortable with riding on an American highway system? I think 35 is fine. There's a couple things to think about here, though, right? Aerodynamics really come into play. If you're riding a dual sport motorcycle with 35 horsepower, let's say a DRZ 400 that has not had its airbox mod done, you are not going to have a good time on that motorcycle, even with 35 horsepower, because it's too big, it's too wide, it's not aerodynamic, and it tops out at like 78 miles an hour comfortably, right? The front wheel is really narrow, you're going to get wobbly, it's not fun, right? So I think your entry-level naked bikes in the 300cc category making 30-something horsepower, if you're able to do at least 10 miles an hour over the posted speed limit on a highway, you should be good. Solo MC Rider on chat here said Dallas, Texas is a minimum of 100 miles an hour. That is something I have noticed here. I just moved to the DFW area from Austin. People drive insane here. I don't understand how I'm doing like 95 miles an hour and people are still trying to pass me. I'm like, just slow the hell down. This is insane. So it's like Mad Max, depending on where you live. I've heard Houston is even worse. As a new Dallasite, I have to talk mad crap about Houston. Just mad shit about Houston. Okay, that would be my answer for this. Okay, Kiwi Commander on YouTube asked me, what is the best first Ducati/Italian bike? Great question. I've been riding a Z750 for over a year, and I'm getting the itch for something more interesting, not necessarily faster. I would actually really love to hear what people on chat think about this. What would be like the best first sort of Italian or Ducati styled motorcycle? Something a little more exotic here. Let's consider that maybe this person is wanting something sporty. We're looking at a Z750, right? I would say the best first kind of foray into Italian motorcycles would be a Ducati Monster. Couple reasons. It's classic. It's never going to look bad. They have aged beautifully. You can get them in a variety of different engine configurations. You can get them in a bunch of different sizes. They're always going to be V-twins, excuse me. You can get them in a bunch of different engine displacements, right? They made them from like sub 700 cc's to 1200 cc's. So I think that you could easily get a bunch of different kinds of monsters. And I really think it would give you a really interesting flavor over your Z750 if you want to stay in that naked category. Domingo here on chat said Ducati Scrambler. I agree with that too. I think the Scrambler, I mean, I've beaten mine like a rented mule and it just keeps churning. They are really bulletproof and they're relatively easy to live with. Desmo service every 7,500 miles kind of stinks, but you know, that's could be too. A couple people here saying 210 660. Those are great too. I think the 660 platform in a modern context is easily one of the best Italian motorcycles out there. But it has a little bit of panache and flavor, but I don't know how kind of like old you want to go in the catalog, and some of the things get a little cantankerous. If you really want to go full zoot, if you really want to go crazy with it, get an MV Agusta. Lots of character, lots of pizzazz, lots of interest, but you're going to pay. You're going to pay with your life and with your wallet. You certainly will. Question on chat here from Lou Cole with the $10 New Zealand. Thank you very much. Hey Yam, asked a question a few episodes ago about moving from a Duke 390 to a ZX6R. Well, I've bought another Duke 390 as a track bike. What's your opinion on small naked bikes on track? Well, that's a great choice, right? It's a known platform for you. You're going to keep the same thing. I would say that it's a motorcycle that can be used extremely well on track, up to a certain size. We have here in Texas, Circuit of the Americas. That's the biggest track I can think of. It has an enormous back straight. If you've seen it on MotoGP, not very fun on a small naked bike. But the cool thing about your Duke 390 is that you could take it on a kart track, right? If you have a really small track, that motorcycle is a little bit big for that track. And so you're going to get, big bike feel out of it. You're going to get a little wobble, a little shake, and you can learn a lot at really tight carving corners on a kart track. You can also take it to a small to mid-sized track. So the Duke 390 would be really fun on tracks like that. Mr. JC89. That should be JM89 for Jorge Martin 89, who's going to take the championship this year in MotoGP. Anyways, why are there only 3 categories for motorcyclists? Street squids, hog riders, and everyone else. As motorcyclists, we know there's a lot more to it than that, but from an outside perspective, many non-riders only know of the 2 main groups and then just lump anything that doesn't fit into something else. I think that the reason this exists is because in popular culture in America specifically, you have Harleys that are very easily identifiable. You see the guy on the Harley, like he looks a certain way and the bike looks a certain way. And then a sport bike looks a certain way. It's got plastics, the guy looks a full-faced helmet, all that sort of stuff, right? And then there's everything else. There's touring bikes and big gold wings and that sort of thing. People really have a very hard time, if you're not in the hobby, of knowing all the different makes and models and things like that. I'll give you a perfect example of something I'm not into, right? Firearms. Something I never got into. I couldn't tell you the difference between half of these firearms, right? I'm like, oh, it's a pistol or oh, it's a rifle. That's about as far as my identification process goes. Where someone's super into firearms, they might say, oh, that's this spec and that's model, but that's different because of this, and the reason they make that this because of this. And I find that motorcycling has a lot in common with that, and there are a lot of firearm enthusiasts on the Discord as well, because I feel like there's a lot of specs, there's a lot of tech, there's a lot of delineation of what this bike does versus that bike versus this versus that. And for most people, they're not going to have the time or the bandwidth to figure that out. They're not gonna care about that. Skid75 here said, don't forget hipsters, ADV dads, like Yam. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'm glad I've ascended to hipster and dad. I feel like that was my ultimate form. But yeah, like retro hipster guys, I think are a subset of that too. But some people might see that as like hog or cruiser riders or whatever else to that, all that sort of thing. I'm an embarrassment to Texas. Hang on a second. I'm one of Texas's prized possessions over here, my friend. I'm a crown jewel of the state. Spurge Productions 128. Hey, maybe it's the guy from Revzilla. Reasons as to why someone shouldn't get their license. Be interested to hear your perspective. I'm not sure there is a reason that someone shouldn't get their motorcycle license. It's pretty easy here in the States too. Perhaps this question is from international where it's really hard to do the, like A2, A1 thing. But I think that you should just take the MSF course, get your M-Class license. That way, if you get pulled over, it's not an extra ticket for you. It's just a couple $100. Go do it on a weekend, get started. And then it's really not too hard either. So yeah, I would say just do that. So yeah, I don't think that there's any reason to not get a license. What a strange question. Okay. Hunt Rice Down. Very aggressive username. Is 16 too young to start riding? It's legal here, but what do you think? Okay, this is a great question. And honestly, this one, let's put it to a poll because I'm actually really interested. Is 16 too early to start riding? And I think for me, the answer to this question really depends on the kid, right? Some young people have their heads screwed on straight. They are going to ride very effectively. They're going to take criticism and knowledge and teaching really, really well. And some kids just aren't going to take to it well. I don't think 16 is too young to start riding, but I do think that it is way too young to get any sort of powerful motorcycle. I would say a lot of people on chat here saying that 16 is a great time for like dirt riding and that sort of thing. I would say that an average 16-year-old, if they've been riding in the dirt, probably has decent motorcycle riding acumen. However, they might not have correct decision-making skills in traffic situations, where people get hurt, right? Think about a 16-year-old driving their brand new car in high school or whatever. Maybe not brand new, some like 10-year-old beat up Honda Civic, let's be real. I think that young man or young woman would probably be at more of a risk to get an offender bend or something like that. So for me personally, I would say maybe you can start riding too earlier than that even, but perhaps not on the road. I think you should practice on the road in a four-wheeled vehicle with a cage just while you figure out traffic. And then maybe after a year or two, you can ride a motorcycle on the road once you understand road traffic rules. I just think that would be a little bit safer. But yeah, I think that you want to ride some dirt bikes, you want to ride in controlled conditions, 16 is fine. But I think with traffic and learning how to ride all at the same time might be a little too much overload. That's what I would say. Looks like chat says 80% no. Get them boys young and riding. Get them on there. Hey folks, I hope you're enjoying this Yammie Noob Livestream clip. Remember, every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central, right here on YouTube, I do the streams. If you want a chance to participate in the live streams, head over to yammie.co and become a member. You'll get access to our Discord server, automatic entries to win our giveaway motorcycles, and access to our newsletter as well. It's a great way to support the show. It's like a bike night that never ends over there. It's a lot of fun, and I'm on there all the time. Join as a member on yammie.co and support the show. J.O. on YouTube. Okay, we got some crazy questions here. Best value helmet of 2024. Best protection to dollar helmet of 2024. Best overall helmet of 2024, regardless of price. What do you think this is? You think I'm Repzilla? You think I'm just sitting here? I got a list of helmet manufacturers by dollar ratio in my brain. Holy crap. I'll give you just my thumb in the wind answers. Okay, listen. I don't even, this is a great question because I don't even buy helmets that often. I literally wait until the 5-year mark, then I just get the same one that I had. Okay. Best value helmet. I think this one has to go to HJC. Honestly, HJC makes a good helmet. And I think that they're pretty value driven. Scorpion as well. I think both of those are really good. Okay. Best protection to dollar helmet of 2024. I kind of reject this question because as long as it has an ECE sticker, it's just as safe as any other helmet that has an ECE sticker. You can maybe find something with a Snell if it makes you feel better, but that's going to be higher up in the price range. So honestly, best protection to dollar helmet of 2024. Bell makes good stuff. HJC makes good stuff. You just look for the sticker. Look for the ECE sticker. And then best overall helmet of 2024. Screw it. AGV Carbon Pista, the squid helmet of choice, regardless of price. Wow, wowie zowie, flex up on all your friends with your beautiful Carbon Pista AGV helmet. What a good use of money and time and energy. I'm sorry, this question is just silly. Okay, Cora U7E. Uh-oh, this might be sillier. Can you touch briefly on 750 to 800cc bikes? How do they compare relative to 600s and 1000s. If a rider is seeking more than a 600, is an 800 the right step? Oh boy. Chat, I think this fella's confused about something. Okay, I don't even know where to start with this one. Let's think about this. The thing you're talking about is basically like you're existing in this world where there's 600s and there's thousands, and all 600s and thousands are the same. And that's simply not true. And displacement does not tell you the whole story about a motorcycle. The perfect example I can give to you is a Ninja 650 is slower than a ZX6 by a very big margin, despite having a bigger engine. How is that possible? It has a bigger number. It has to be better, right? No. The bike is built to be a certain thing. A ZX6 is a purpose-built race bike that goes fast as stink because it's designed to rev super high. A 650 is a parallel twin. It's docile. It's comfortable to ride. It's designed as a commuter bike. It's really nice and easy, and even a beginner rider could ride it, right? Okay, so a 750 or 800cc bike in today's world is something like a GSX 8R, a Honda Hornet 750, an MT-07, that sort of thing. And those bikes are nothing like a 600 and nothing like a 1000. Basically, think of it this way. A 1000 is a hypercar. It's a missile. It's the fastest thing you've ever conceived of in your life. A 1000cc motorcycle, a proper super bike, is just idiotically fast, right? A 750 and 800cc bike, even with the 4-cylinder, because depending on the type of bike that it is, might not even be that much faster than a 600. So I'd say before you think about this question, really think about, the type of bike that it is and the type of power that it makes and where it makes its power, and that's going to help you understand it a little bit better. In the classic pantheon of the question you're asking, for example, like an MV Agusta F3 800 makes about 150 horsepower. It sits right between a 600 and a 1000. But still, 1000s are nuclear levels fast. I would just really like to reiterate that. So there's a long answer to a question. There's a whole lot to talk about there. And I think we've made a video about this before. But if it's unclear, I'm going to make it again. And the comment section going to be like, you already made this one. I'm like, well, that guy didn't bother to use a search bar, so now he's going to learn today. Isn't that nice? Okay, Cody H, 1991. As an older guy, 35-ish. Whoa, hey! This is probably how old-timers feel whenever I say, like, oh, he's in his 40s, he's older. Look, I'm 32. Don't call me older. Don't lump me in with you. Okay? You're older, not me. You're on your wrong side of your 30s. I'm early 30s. I'm young. You're old. As a side note, it's been this weird thing where I'm realizing that I'm now a very young old guy, and I'm no longer an old young guy, if that makes sense. Okay. He says he's been looking to get his first bike. I've been consuming a lot of your content in the last year. I know you hate the Ninja 650, but for the cost, sub 4K in a lot of cases, it seems like a decent choice for someone who would like to start on a little bit bigger bike. I know it's not super exciting, but am I crazy for these thoughts? George H over here on chat with the classic meme, I'm 40, I'm a man. That was the OSU guy, right? That's that really old video. Oh man, that's a good one. Okay, I don't think the Ninja 650 is a terrible buy. One of the guys that I knew when I started riding started on Ninja 650, and he had a plenty fun time with it. It was totally fine. But yeah, Skids here says a pretty good point where it's like the reason it's 4K is because the demand is basically non-existent for that motorcycle. There are much more interesting motorcycles to get, and if you're going to go for a 650, you might as well go for an SV650. It's got way more charm, way more character, it's way more fun to ride, and if you're committing to a 650, you can find an SV650 for $4,000 to $5,000. And it's a really good bike too. So I would say, I don't think you're crazy for those thoughts, but I do think that if you're maximizing for the dollar portion of it, an SV650 is in your future there, I would say. I did see someone dropped me a question here. El Perron, thank you for the $9.99. Evening AM, love the show. Thoughts on the ZX12Rs? I have an 05 ZX12Rs. Many riders never seen one around here and joke about it being a 20-year-old bike until I gap them. Will they come back? Will open class big bore bikes like that come back? Honestly, I kind of hope so. The ZX12 is a strange bird because that was, I think, right before they went ZX14, right? And then it's just like that big ass open class bike. Look, if the Busa still has a market, I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing some open class stuff, something a little bit funky, a little bit bigger, right? Especially because, to meet emissions, bigger engines have to kind of happen, and maybe we get plus-sized inline fours. I don't know. I wouldn't kind of poo-poo the idea. I wouldn't throw it out the window, but I also wouldn't be bullish on open class superbikes coming back, because it definitely feels like a product of their time. Next question here. Caleb Sutherland, 8878. Do you have suggestions for comfortable riding jeans? I find regular jeans uncomfortable, and I have bought a few pairs of riding jeans in several different sizes, and I can't seem to find one that actually fits me comfortably. Okay, I could talk about jean fitment and jean comfort levels for days, and it's not the reasons you think. Now, I know I said I didn't want to talk about gear, I don't know anything about helmets or whatever I said, but jeans I actually think about a lot. So, when I was a kid, I skateboarded a lot, okay? And when you skateboarded in the mid-2000s, as I did, you needed a skinny jeans. That was just what everyone wore. That's what everyone did. So I wore them. Now, the trick to wearing skinny jeans was finding elasticity in them, right? So there was just like one or two pairs of jeans back in the day that actually had elasticity and were comfortable to wear for long periods of time like that. Jean makers kind of understood this over the next decade or so, and then pretty much every pair of pants now has some level of elasticity, right? I think that for you to find a pair of riding jeans that are comfortable, you need to either compromise on the slide resistance of that pair of jeans, because the more slide resistant it is, the kind of less elastic it's going to be. But there are also pairs of jeans that have kind of an accordion flex in them that allows for even more elastication, I believe is the word, and allows you to be a little more comfortable in them. There's plenty of pants that you can wear that have armor, that have slide resistant capabilities, CE rating, but have that stretch. And you can also find them in different fitments, right? I think that there's lots of jeans that if you just maybe size up a little bit, maybe get one that's a little bit wider, it's going to accommodate for your gear, for your boot, give you a little bit more breathing room, and then it's just going to be a little bit more comfortable too. If you don't like that, you can always just go like full ADV touring dad pants, and those are really comfortable, and you can just ride them all day long. So, yeah, I think that that there's lots of options out there. I love Revit stuff. I wear it all the time. Pando Moto makes great stuff too. Saint jeans, I've been wearing a couple of those for a minute. We have on the chat here, Scorpion jeans also do well too. But yeah, that would be my recommendation. Find something that stretches. The more stretch, the better. The higher level of stretch percentage it has, the better. Don't wear leggings, obviously. Nobody needs to see that. Nobody wants to see that. All right, boys. Thank you so much for joining for the questions here. If you want, join our community on yammie-noob.co. If I got you here, if you like what's going on, join. Become a member. It's a ton of fun. We really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun to give away bikes and to hang out with people on the server. And we're always giving away cool bikes. We're about to give away a street triple here pretty soon. The Ninja 500 is wrapping up. Rack up your points. It's a lot of fun. Keep watching Yammie Noob.